sit with me for a moment. Before you judge yourself, before you call yourself lazy, breathe. I want to tell you something most people never hear. You are not lazy. You are spiritually distracted. For years, people came to me with the same confession. I lack discipline. I can't stay consistent. I start, but never finish. And almost every time they carried shame in their voice, as if laziness were a flaw carved into their character. But I have studied the mind for decades, and I have learned this. Laziness is rarely the problem. Distraction is. When your mind is constantly pulled in 100 directions, how can your spirit move in one? I remember a season in my own life when I felt scattered. My days were filled with activity, yet nothing meaningful was built. I was reading endlessly, consuming ideas, planning ambitious projects, but at night I felt empty. Not because I hadn't worked, but because my attention had been divided. And attention is life. Where your attention goes, your future follows. We live in an age where your focus is constantly under attack. Notifications interrupt your thoughts. Comparison steals your confidence. Endless content convinces you that you are behind. And slowly, without noticing, your mind becomes fragmented. A fragmented mind feels tired. A tired mind avoids effort. And that avoidance is mislabeled as laziness. But it is not laziness. It is spiritual misalignment. Imagine trying to light a fire with scattered sparks. Nothing ignites. But focus that same energy into one steady flame, and even steel begins to bend. Your problem is not lack of energy. It is lack of concentration. I once met a young entrepreneur who believed he was incapable of success. He told me he couldn't focus for more than 20 minutes. He blamed his personality. He blamed his habits. He blamed himself. So I asked him to track one thing for 7 days. Not his productivity, not his habits, but his distractions. Every time his attention shifted unnecessarily, he wrote it down. At the end of the week, he stared at the pages in disbelief. Hours lost to scrolling. Minutes fragmented by constant checking. Tasks interrupted before momentum could build. He looked at me and said, "I'm not lazy. I'm overstimulated." Exactly. You cannot expect clarity from a cluttered mind. You cannot expect discipline from a distracted spirit. The first lesson I learned on my journey was this: guard your attention like it is sacred. Because it is. Your attention determines what grows in your life. If you constantly water comparison, insecurity grows. If you constantly water entertainment, distraction grows. But if you water purpose, focus grows. And focus changes everything. The second lesson was harder. Distraction is often an escape. Sometimes we stay busy because we are avoiding something uncomfortable, a difficult project, a necessary conversation, a bold decision. It is easier to scroll than to confront uncertainty. It is easier to plan than to execute. Ask yourself honestly, what am I avoiding? Growth begins where distraction ends. Finally, understand this. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do more. It is about choosing what truly matters and eliminating what does not. When your priorities are clear, action becomes lighter. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop fighting your own mind. You begin to move with intention. And intention creates momentum. You are not lazy. Laziness implies weakness. But you are not weak. You are powerful. Your attention simply needs direction. Reclaim your mornings. Spend the first moments of your day in silence, not consumption. Reduce your inputs. Create before you consume. Build before you browse. And most importantly, Sit with yourself long enough to remember what you actually want. Because once your spirit is aligned with your purpose, effort feels natural. When you focus deeply, you discover something extraordinary. You were never incapable. You were just divided. And divided energy builds nothing. But focused energy builds empires, builds character, builds peace. So the next time your inner voice whispers, "You're lazy," pause. Correct it. Say instead, "I choose to focus." Because your life will not be shaped by how hard you try. It will be shaped by what you consistently give your attention to. Think deeply. Act boldly. Rise relentlessly.